All right, going to show all the processes that go into making the knob. So this was the original knob, and this is in a three-dimensional world. But the only thing I need is this little piece right here, that shape right there. So the steps to get to that shape, here we go. First thing I did was made a cube. I positioned that cube over top of the area that I did not want. I resized it until everything was encapsulated that I did not want. Once I did that, I changed that to what we call a hole. A hole takes away whatever it is covering. As you can see, the dark area is covered by this cube. So when I hit group, it's going to erase this section, just like that. So now all we have left is the little key that we need for, hopefully, the knob that we're going to make. First thing we need to do is flip that up on its end. Second thing we need to do is set that down onto the bottom. And then I selected the wrong thing to add to it. So we deleted those, and then we started building on top of that. First thing we did was we got a cone. We sized that cone to make it bigger than the key. Once we did that, through a couple of steps, we moved that aside. We put a ball on top of that, an orb. Once we did that, we centered that onto the cone. And then we sized it by shrinking it down to make it look more like a knob. After we did that, we took another cube and we made that narrow to be an indicator on the knob. And you'll see, I put it on there. It is not centered just yet. So we go ahead and we center that. Once we center it, we group that, which turns everything the same color. Now that is one piece. Once we did that, we changed it to the color that we're going to print it. Not that that matters. It's just so I can get a feel for what it's going to look like when it's finished. Now that we have our knob, we need to establish this key inside there. Right now, it has a solid bottom. So we'll look at the bottom and we'll go forward. I duplicated that piece just so if I messed this one up, I would still have a good size to work from. Once I did that, I made a cylinder, reduced the size of the cylinder to be 1/16 smaller in diameter than the piece that I was working with. It'll all make sense here in just a minute. We're going to stay on the bottom of this. We're going to go forward. We centered that. Once we centered it, then we took and we centered this cylinder on our knob, and you'll see that happen right there. Now it's dead center of that knob. Once we have it that way, now you can see that this is sticking above. So the first thing we need to do is change this to a hole so we can see where this cylinder is. Then we move that cylinder down so it's the same height as our key. And you'll see that happen right there. So I actually moved the key over so I could get a height. Then I took that cylinder and slid it down. And now we're going to move the key out of the way, turn this black, turn this to a hole. There you go. And now we're going to group that, which makes a big hole in the bottom. The next step is going to be to grab one of these and center it on that knob. So we'll go to the bottom and watch that happen. First I move it over, then I center it. So now our key is in the center of that knob. That knob is a cone and a ball and a cube all mixed into one piece now. So as you can see, this is gray, that is black. That's because it was not grouped. The next step is to group all that together, and now it is all one piece. The next thing we're going to do is turn it black. Oh, we got rid of the extra part. I forgot about doing that. We shrank that down a little bit. I'm going to back up. You can see how it was that height. We shrunk that down to a 1/2 inch tall. Once we did that, we turned it to black, and then it was time to export. Once we exported that file out of this program, then we went into this program, and this is a slicer program. So what does this program do? Well, let's see if I can get a grip on it. There that knob is. We are going to preview that. So on layer number 1, the printer is going to print this layer right here, and I'll show you how that's going to work. That's actually the printer nozzle animated, and it's going to make the first circle. This is called a brim, and basically what a brim does is it helps the knob stick to the plate. Without that brim, that knob could break loose and slide around. So we'll fast forward this. That is layer number 1. Once layer number 1 gets completed, then it's on to layer number 2, and we can watch how that's going to work. That's going to work like that. And so on and so forth. We'll bring this down so you can kind of see it as it grows. Layer 5, layer 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that is how it's going to lay that down. Now we'll go to the top view and we'll play this layer. And that's exactly how that nozzle is going to move to print that layer. When all the layers are complete, which is a total of 63 layers, it will look something like this, but only black. Now, we'll bring the flashlight over here because I actually have it printing right now. And there is that knob halfway printed. You can see the indicator is sticking out towards the front of the printer, and we'll let this thing play for just a minute. You can see the plate is moving back and forth. The print head is moving the opposite direction back and forth, and that is doing the fill. And then you'll actually see where it actually goes around the outside of it. There it is. That's the outside of it, and now it's continuing to fill. And when that's done, we'll simply wait till it cools off, and that knob will pop off, and the brim will fall off of that knob. Pretty cool stuff.